Hello there, my gentle dreamers. Tonight, we wander with Bella Swan through the edge of twilight, her greatest transformation, from fragile human to immortal vampire, through pain and rebirth, through death and awakening. We'll witness the choice she made, the price she paid, the fire she endured, and the power she claimed. So, close your eyes. Breathe in the quiet darkness. Let Bella's journey from mortality to eternity guide you into a world where heartbeats fade, where burning becomes strength and dreams last forever. The wedding day arrives in Forks, Washington, on a summer evening when the clouds finally part to reveal pale sunlight. Bella Swan wakes in her childhood bedroom one last time as Bella Swan, knowing that by nightfall she will be Bella Cullen. The knowledge sits in her chest like a stone, heavy with significance. She has wanted this since the moment she understood what Edward was, what he offered, what future stretched before them. But wanting something and experiencing it are different things entirely. The nervousness flutter in her stomach reminds her that she is still human, still vulnerable to anxiety and doubt. Alice Cullen arrives before dawn, a whirlwind of organization and enthusiasm. She has planned this wedding with the precision of a military campaign. Every detail considered, every contingency prepared for. Bella surrenders to Alice's vision because resistance is futile, and because, truthfully, she doesn't care about the wedding itself. She cares about what comes after. The marriage is simply the gateway to transformation, the necessary human ritual before the vampire eternity can begin. But Alice cares, and so Bella sits patiently while her future sister works. The preparation takes hours, hair styled and restyled until Alice achieves the exact cascade of elegance she envisioned. Makeup applied with artistic precision, enhancing without overwhelming, creating a bride who looks both human and somehow ethereal. The dress, designed by Alice herself, fits perfectly, hugging Bella's slim frame before flowing to the floor in layers of satin and lace. When Bella finally looks in the mirror, she barely recognizes herself. The girl looking back is beautiful, graceful, everything Bella never felt as a human. It's a preview, perhaps, of what she'll become when the transformation is complete. Downstairs, the Cullen house has been transformed into something from a fairy tale. White flowers cover every surface, their scent filling the air. Chairs arranged in perfect rows face an archway woven with more flowers, more beauty than seems necessary for a ceremony that will last minutes. But this is what humans do, Bella reminds herself. They mark the commitments with beauty and ritual, with witnesses and celebration. After tonight, after the honeymoon, after the transformation, such human concerns will fall away. But for now, she is still Bella Swan. still Charlie's daughter, still playing the role she was born into. Charlie knocks on her door, uncomfortable in his rented tuxedo but trying to hide it. He looks at his daughter and his eyes go red-rimmed, emotional in a way Charlie rarely allows himself to be. He doesn't understand what Bella sees in Edward Cullen, doesn't understand the intensity of their connection, probably suspect that Bella is making a mistake marrying so young, but he loves her, and so he says nothing, except that she looks beautiful. They walk down the stairs together, his arm solid under her hand, his presence a reminder of everything she's leaving behind. The ceremony itself passes in a blur of sensation. The music beginning, that traditional march that every bride knows. The guests turning to watch her approach. Edward waiting at the altar, impossibly beautiful in his tuxedo, his golden eyes locked on her face with an intensity that makes everything else disappear. Carlyle standing beside him, serving as best man, his kind face approving. Esme in the front row, tears of joy that will never fall shimmering in her topaz eyes. The Cullen family, her family now, watching her join them officially. Edward takes her hand when she reaches him, and his cool touch grounds her, reminds her why this matters. The minister speaks words about love and commitment, about joining two lives into one. Edward repeats his vows, his voice steady and sure, promising forever with the certainty of someone who understands eternity's true weight. When Bella speaks her own vows, her voice shakes slightly, but the words are true. She does take Edward Cullen as her husband, does promise to love him for better or worse, does commit herself to him for as long as they both shall live. The irony of that phrase, as long as they both shall live, strikes her. For humans, it means decades at most. For them, it means something beyond human comprehension. The kiss seals the marriage, Edward's lips cool and careful against hers, mindful even now of his strength and her fragility. The guests applaud. They are married. Bella Cullen exists now, even if the Bella Swan isn't quite gone yet. The reception unfolds in the Cullen backyard, transformed into an elegant celebration space. White lights strung through the trees create artificial stars. Tables laden with food that Bella can barely eat, her stomach too tight with nerves and anticipation. The cake, beautiful and elaborate, tastes like ash in her mouth. She smiles and accepts congratulations from guests who don't know what she and Edward really are, who don't understand that this marriage is just the beginning of something far stranger than they could imagine. Dancing with Edward feels like floating, his arms guiding her effortlessly across the floor. He moves with inhuman grace, but slowly enough that she can follow, that their movements look almost normal to watching humans. He whispers to her as they dance, promises about their future, reassurances about the honeymoon. But Bella hears the hesitation in his voice, the concern he can't quite hide. Edward still doesn't want to transform her, still believes she should remain human, should live and age and eventually die naturally. They have argued about this for months. Tonight is not the night to argue again. Jacob Black arrives uninvited, materializing from the darkness beyond the lights. Billy, his father, was invited but declined. Jacob comes alone, drawn by some need to see Bella one last time before she disappears into the vampire world completely. He is awkward in a borrowed suit, his russet skin and long black hair marking him as different from the other guests. Edward tenses when he sees Jacob, but Bella, leaves her husband's arms to greet her oldest friend. They dance, Jacob and Bella, one last time. He towers over her, burning hot where Edward is cool, his hands too warm on her waist. He makes a final plea, begs her not to go through with the transformation, warns her about the danger, the pain, the loss of humanity. Bella listens but doesn't waver. She has made her choice. Jacob's face twists with pain and anger when she confirms that yes, she will become a vampire. Yes, she will leave humanity behind. He leaves abruptly, shifting into his wolf form somewhere in the darkness, running away from the future he can't stop. The reception winds down. Guests depart, satisfied and happy, believing they've witnessed a simple wedding between two young people in love. They don't know about vampires or werewolves, about the supernatural world hidden beneath Falk's mundane surface. They go home to their normal lives, while Bella prepares to leave hers behind forever. Edward drives them to the airport, his Volvo moving swiftly through the night. They catch a plane to Rio de Janeiro, then a boat to a private island off the Brazilian coast. Isle Esme, named for Edward's adopted mother, a wedding gift from Carlisle to Esme decades ago, and now offered to Edward and Bella for their honeymoon. The journey takes hours, but Bella barely notices, exhausted from the wedding, from the emotions, from the weight of impending change. The island appears in the dawn light, a small paradise of white sand and turquoise water, dense jungle rising behind the beach. The house, really more of a cottage, sits just beyond the sand, beautiful in its simplicity. Edward carries Bella over the threshold, playing at human tradition. Even though they're alone now, no need to pretend. He sets her down gently in a bedroom dominated by a large bed covered in white linens, moonlight streaming through open windows that face the ocean. The first night unfolds with a tension neither quite expected. Edward has always been careful with Bella, always mindful of his strength and her fragility. The difference between them, vampire and human, has meant restraint, control, holding back. But tonight is their wedding night, and Bella expects something to change. Edward's hesitation frustrates her. She is not afraid of him, has never been afraid despite all the reasons she should be. But Edward is afraid of himself, of hurting her, of losing control for even a moment, and causing damage he could never forgive himself for. When they finally come together, Edward's control holds, but barely. He is gentle, careful, treating Bella like something infinitely precious and infinitely breakable. She doesn't feel breakable. She feels alive, connected to him in ways that go beyond physical touch. But when she wakes in the morning, her body tells a different story. Bruises cover her arms where he held her, purple and blue against her pale skin. The headboard is broken, splintered wood evidence of Edward's grip when he tried to anchor himself. Feathers from destroyed pillows drift across the floor like snow. Edward is horrified. He sees the bruises and hates himself, sees the destruction and knows he caused it despite his best efforts. He swears he won't touch her again, won't risk hurting her, won't allow his vampire nature to harm his human wife. Bella tries to convince him otherwise, shows him that the bruises don't hurt, that she's fine, that she wants him despite the evidence of his strength. But Edward is resolute, his self-loathing too deep to easily overcome. The days that follow establish a pattern, swimming in the crystal water. Edward's skin sparkling in the sunlight where no humans can see. Exploring the island together, Bella's hand in Edward's cool grip. Playing chess in the evenings, Edward letting her win sometimes, his competitive nature warring with his desire to make her happy. Talking for hours about everything and nothing, the conversations of newlyweds learning to be married. But at night, Edward maintains his distance, sleeping on the couch despite Bella's protests, punishing himself for bruises that have already faded. Bella wakes one morning feeling strange. Her stomach rebels at the smell of breakfast, sending her running to the bathroom. She's exhausted despite sleeping long hours, hungry but unable to eat. The symptoms are familiar, something she's read about but never experienced. Edward hovers anxiously, his medical knowledge limited but his concern absolute. When Bella realizes what might be happening, the impossibility of it seems too absurd to speak aloud. But Edward hears her thoughts shifting, sees her hand drift to her stomach, understands before she says anything. His face goes blank, then fills with horror. Pregnant. Bella might be pregnant. It shouldn't be possible. Vampires are frozen, unchanging, their bodies locked in the moment of transformation. They don't create life. They end it. Male vampires shouldn't be able to father children any more than female vampires can bear them. But the venom that transformed Edward preserved his body exactly as it was in 1918, including, apparently, viable sperm. Edward calls Carlyle immediately, his voice tight with panic. Carlyle listens, processes, responds with medical precision, even as the impossibility of the situation becomes clear. In 300 years of vampire existence, Carlyle has never heard of such a pregnancy. The Volturi's records contain no mention of hybrid children born from vampire fathers and human mothers. This is unprecedented, unknown, and therefore terrifying. Carlyle can't tell them what to expect because no one knows. The pregnancy could kill Bella. The fetus, if it is a fetus, might not survive. They are in completely uncharted territory. Edward makes a decision instantly. They will return to Forks. Carlyle will examine Bella properly, determine what's happening, and then they will end the pregnancy. It's the only safe option, the only choice that protects Bella's life. He doesn't ask Bella's opinion, simply begins packing, arranging flights, making calls. His fear overrides everything else, his need to protect her from this impossible thing growing inside her. Bella says nothing during the packing, during the boat ride back to the mainland, during the flight to Seattle. But inside, a certainty grows. She is pregnant. Against all logic and biology, she carries Edward's child, and she will not let anyone take that away from her, not even Edward himself. This might be her only chance to have both things she wants, Edward and a child. She doesn't have to choose between transformation and motherhood. She can have both if she survives. The danger doesn't matter. The impossibility doesn't matter. Only the life growing inside her matters, and she will protect it with everything she has. They arrive back in Forks to a house divided by opinion and fear. The Cullen family gathers in the living room, their beautiful faces grave with concern as Carlyle completes his examination of Bella. His hands are gentle, professional, but his expression reveals his worry. The fetus, if it can be called that, is growing at an impossible rate. Based on conception timing, Bella should be perhaps 2 weeks pregnant at most. But the ultrasound shows development equivalent to several months of normal human gestation. The growth rate is exponential, accelerating, defying every principle of human biology Carlyle understands. Edward stands rigid near the window, his hands clenched into fists, his face a mask of controlled terror. He can hear the thoughts of everyone in the room, can feel their concern, their fear, their various opinions about what should happen next. But more than that, he can hear something else, something that fills him with wonder and horror in equal measure. He can hear the baby's thoughts, not words exactly, not coherent sentences, but impressions, emotions, awareness. The fetus is conscious, thinking, far more developmentally than physically. It loves Bella already, recognizes her heartbeat, feels content in her warmth. This knowledge doesn't comfort Edward. It terrifies him because it makes the situation infinitely more complicated. Alice sits on the couch, her face blank with frustration. Her visions have gone dark, clouded by the pregnancy in a way she doesn't understand. She cannot see Bella's future anymore, cannot see whether she survives or dies, cannot see what emerges from this impossible situation. The absence of vision feels like blindness, like losing a sense she's depended on since her transformation. She paces occasionally, trying to force the visions to return, but they remain stubbornly absent. Whatever Bella carries inside her blocks Alice's gift completely. Rosalie's reaction surprises everyone, most of all Bella herself. Rosalie has never liked Bella, has resented her presence in Edward's life, has been coldly polite at best throughout their entire acquaintance. But when Edward demands that Bella terminate the pregnancy, when he insists it's the only way to save her life, Rosalie moves to stand beside Bella with an expression of fierce determination. She will not allow anyone to harm this baby. She doesn't care about the risks, doesn't care about the impossibility, doesn't care about anything except protecting the one thing she herself can never have. Rosalie was transformed at 18, her body frozen forever in its human state, her dream of motherhood destroyed along with her humanity. This baby, hybrid and impossible though it may be, represents everything Rosalie lost. She will defend it with her life. Esme's maternal instincts war with her concern for Bella's safety. She wants to protect everyone, to find a solution that keeps both Bella and the baby safe. But she can see no such solution in Carlisle's worried face, in Edward's anguish, in the medical impossibility of the situation. She remains neutral in the family argument that follows, offering comfort to all sides, but committing to neither. Emmett and Jasper align with Edward, believing the pregnancy is too dangerous, that Bella's life must take priority over the unknown entity growing inside her. Emmett's usual cheerfulness fades when he sees the ultrasound, when he understands how rapidly the fetus is developing, something growing that fast cannot be natural, cannot be safe. Jasper feels the emotions roiling through the house, the fear and determination and love and desperation, and knows that this situation will tear the family apart if they're not careful. He sides with Edward out of brotherhood, out of belief that protecting Bella means removing the threat she carries. But Bella herself remains absolutely resolute. She will not terminate the pregnancy. She doesn't care about the danger, doesn't care that the fetus is growing impossibly fast, doesn't care that no one knows what it will become. This is her child and Edward's child, and she will protect it. When Edward pleads with her, when he begs her to choose her own life over the baby's, she refuses. When Carlisle gently explains the risks, the likelihood that the pregnancy will kill her before the fetus reaches viability, she listens, but doesn't change her mind. When Alice warns that she can't see a future for Bella anymore, that the visions have gone completely dark, Bella accepts this news calmly. Rosalie becomes Bella's guardian and ally, the unlikely partnership forming through their shared determination to protect the baby. She stays close to Bella at all times, ready to intervene if Edward or Carlisle attempt to force medical intervention. The tension in the house becomes almost unbearable. Family members choosing sides, relationships straining under the weight of impossible choices. Jacob Black returns during this crisis, drawn by reports from the pack about strange scents around the Cullen property. The werewolves, the Quileute shapeshifters, have been monitoring the Cullens carefully since Bella's transformation was postponed by the wedding and honeymoon. Sam Yulee, the pack alpha, considers the pregnancy an abomination, a violation of the treaty between the pack and the Cullens. The treaty explicitly forbids the creation of new vampires on Quileute land. A hybrid creature, half vampire and half human, falls into uncertain territory. Sam wants to destroy it before it can be born, seeing it as a threat to the tribe's safety. Jacob rebels against Sam's decision, unable to accept that Bella must be killed to destroy the fetus she carries. He breaks from the pack, severing the alpha connection that has bound him to Sam's commands. Seth Clearwater and Leah Clearwater follow him, choosing Bella's life over pack loyalty. They establish themselves as guards around the Cullen house, werewolves protecting vampires against their own kind, an alliance that would have seemed impossible mere weeks ago. The pregnancy progresses with terrifying speed. Within days, Bella looks months pregnant, her slim frame expanding to accommodate the rapidly growing fetus. Her appetite becomes insatiable, but her body rejects normal food almost immediately. She loses weight everywhere except her stomach, her face becoming gaunt, her arms and legs thinning to fragility. Carlisle monitors her constantly, tracking her deteriorating condition with growing alarm. Her ribs begin to crack under the pressure of the expanding uterus, the baby's movement strong enough to break human bones. The pain is constant, but Bella endures it with a stubbornness that both impresses and frustrates Edward. He watches his wife suffer, watches her body break under the strain of carrying his child, and hates himself for causing this. He didn't know it was possible, didn't take precautions because vampire reproduction was considered impossible. Now Bella is paying the price for that impossible possibility, her human body trying to sustain something that is killing her from the inside. The breakthrough comes from an unexpected source. Edward, listening to the baby's thoughts, hears his distress when Bella eats normal food. The fetus doesn't want human food. It wants blood. The realization is horrifying, confirming everyone's worst fears about the hybrid's vampire nature. But it also offers a solution. If blood is what the baby needs, blood is what Bella must consume. Carlisle brings donated blood from the hospital, stored in pouches, unappetizing but potentially life-saving. Bella's revulsion at the idea of drinking blood wars with her determination to feed her baby whatever it needs. She tries to drink it straight from the pouch and gags, her human stomach rejecting the taste and texture. Emmett suggests using a straw, making it easier to swallow without tasting fully. The method works. Bella drinks blood through a straw, her eyes closed, her mind focused on the baby rather than on what she's consuming. The effect is immediate and dramatic. The baby calms, its movements becoming less violent, its distress fading. Bella's body responds as well, gaining strength from the blood in ways that normal food couldn't provide. Her color improves slightly, her energy increases, her bones stop cracking quite so frequently. She is still deteriorating, still breaking under the strain, but the blood slows the process, buys her time. Days blur into a nightmare of pain and waiting. Bella drinks blood constantly, consuming amounts that would sustain several vampires. The baby grows larger, stronger, more active. Bella's spine begins to show signs of stress fractures, her pelvis widening painfully to accommodate the impossible size of what she carries. She can barely walk, can barely move without assistance. Rosalie and Esme take turns helping her, supporting her when she needs to use the bathroom, helping her shift position when the pain becomes unbearable. Edward remains in constant anguish, torn between his love for Bella and his hatred of the thing that is killing her. He can hear the baby's thoughts growing more complex, more aware. He loves Bella, knows her voice, feels safe in her warmth, but it is also killing her, breaking her body bone by bone, draining her strength despite the blood she consumes. Edward begins planning for the inevitable, accepting that Bella will not survive the birth, preparing himself to transform her the moment the baby is delivered and her heart stops. Carlyle shares this grim assessment. The birth will likely kill Bella. The baby is too large, growing too fast, too strong for human birth. A cesarean section will be necessary, but even that carries enormous risks. The baby is protected by a membrane that resists scalpels, that seems to have some of the same properties as vampire skin. Cutting through it to extract the baby might be impossible with normal surgical tools. They discuss alternatives, make plans, prepare for every contingency they can imagine. Jacob remains close, his presence a comfort to Bella, despite the supernatural tension between werewolf and vampires. He holds her hand during the worst moments, distracts her with stories about the reservation, reminds her that she has friends who love her beyond the Cullen family. He has accepted that Bella will become a vampire, has accepted that she chose Edward over him, has accepted everything except the possibility that she might die. He stays because leaving would mean abandoning her when she needs support most. The membrane becomes a subject of intense study. Carlyle examines the ultrasound images, trying to understand what protects the fetus. It appears organic, but functions like armor, flexible, but nearly impenetrable. He worries that when the time comes, when Bella's body can no longer sustain the pregnancy, they won't be able to extract the baby quickly enough to save either of them. The membrane that protects the fetus might doom them both. Bella's body continues its deterioration despite the blood, despite Carlyle's medical interventions, despite everyone's desperate efforts. Her bones break more frequently, her breathing becomes labored, her heart works frantically to sustain both herself and the baby. She knows she is dying, can feel her body giving out piece by piece. But she also feels the baby's movements, strong and deliberate, and knows that it will survive. That knowledge sustains her through pain that would break most humans, through suffering that tests the limits of her endurance. The family maintains its vigil, relationship strained but holding. Edward and Rosalie barely speak, their fundamental disagreement about Bella's choices creating a rift that may never fully heal. Carlyle struggles with his role as both doctor and father, trying to save Bella while respecting her autonomy. Alice remains frustrated by her blindness to the future, unable to help in the way she normally would. Jasper manages the emotional chaos, using his gift to ease tensions when they threaten to explode into actual conflict. Outside, the pack maintains their threat, waiting for an opportunity to destroy the hybrid. Jacob, Seth, and Leah patrol constantly, their russet wolves forming a protective perimeter around the Cullen property. The standoff continues, both sides waiting, both sides preparing for conflict that seems increasingly inevitable. Bella's due date becomes impossible to calculate because the pregnancy follows no normal timeline. Carlisle estimates based on growth rate and fetal development, but his estimates prove inaccurate as the baby continues its rapid maturation. They exist in a state of constant readiness, knowing that birth could begin at any moment, that when it does, everything will happen terribly fast. The baby's thoughts, according to Edward, show awareness of his mother's suffering. It tries to be gentler, tries to move less violently, tries to cause less pain. This evidence of consciousness, of empathy, makes Edward's feelings even more complicated. This is not simply a parasitic thing destroying his wife. This is his child, aware and loving, trying not to hurt the mother it depends on. The moral complexity paralyzes him, leaves him unable to hate the baby completely, but unable to accept the price Bella is paying for its existence. The birth begins without warning. A violent snap that echoes through the room as Bella's spine fractures completely. She is sitting on the couch, Jacob beside her, telling a story about the reservation, when her back simply breaks under the strain of the baby's weight and strength. The sound is sickening, unmistakable, and Bella's scream cuts off almost immediately as paralysis floods through her lower body. She cannot feel her legs, cannot move anything below her waist. Her eyes go wide with shock and pain and terror. Edward moves instantly, vampire speed carrying him across the room to catch Bella before she collapses completely. Carlisle is already shouting instructions, his medical training taking over despite the unprecedented nature of the emergency. They need to get the baby out now, immediately, before Bella's body fails entirely. Rosalie helps move Bella to the table they prepared for this moment, the makeshift operating surface covered in sterile sheets. Alice hovers nearby, still blind to the future, but desperate to help in any way she can. Carlisle works with surgical precision, his hands steady despite the chaos. He makes the initial incision across Bella's abdomen, cutting through skin and muscle with practiced efficiency. But when he reaches the amniotic sac, when his scalpel touches the membrane protecting the baby, the blade simply stops. It won't cut. The membrane resists the sharpest surgical steel, as though it were made of vampire skin, impenetrable and impossible. Carlisle tries different angles, more pressure, different tools. Nothing works. Edward hears his thoughts, understands the problem immediately, and knows what must be done. If scalpels cannot cut the membrane, vampire teeth can. He moves to Bella's side, his face twisted with revulsion at what he must do, but his determination absolute. He bends over her exposed abdomen, places his mouth against the membrane, and bites. His teeth tear through the protective sac that no blade could penetrate. The membrane splits under his assault, and fluid rushes out clear and tinged with blood. Edward reaches into the opening he created, his hands finding the baby's small form, and lifts her free. She is tiny, beautiful, covered in blood and vernix, her eyes already open and aware. Her skin has a strange quality, slightly translucent, warmer than vampire skin, but cooler than human. Her hair is deep bronze, matching Edward's human color, thick and curling already. She looks at Edward with eyes that show far too much awareness for a newborn. He places the baby on Bella's chest for just a moment, allowing mother and daughter to meet. Bella's hands come up weakly to touch her child, her fingers trembling as they brush the baby's face. She whispers something, a name perhaps, but her voice is too faint to hear clearly. The baby makes a soft sound, not quite a cry, almost like a coo of contentment. Then everything goes wrong. The placenta detaches violently, and blood begins pouring from Bella's uterus in amounts that signal catastrophic hemorrhage. Her damaged spine, her broken pelvis, the trauma of the emergency cesarean all contribute to bleeding that Carlyle cannot control. He works frantically, but there is too much damage, too many sources of bleeding, too little time. Bella's heart rate spikes frantically, trying to compensate for the massive blood loss. Her face goes pale, then grey, her lips losing their colour. Rosalie takes the baby, wrapping her in blankets, moving away from the table to give the others room to work. The infant watches everything with those two aware eyes, silent but observant, seeing her mother die even as she herself lives. Bella's heart stutters, skips beats, races irregularly. Carlyle shouts for Edward to inject the venom now, right now. There is no more time. Edward already has syringes prepared, loaded with his own venom. His hands shake as he positions the needle directly over Bella's heart. He has never wanted this for her, has fought against her transformation for years. But human Bella is dying, her heart failing, her brain beginning to starve for oxygen. He has seconds to act or lose her forever. He plunges the needle into her chest, directly into her heart muscle, and injects the venom in one smooth motion. Then he grabs more syringes and begins injecting systematically throughout her body, her neck, both sides, to reach her brain quickly, her arms, the major vessels that will carry venom through her system, her legs, though he fears the broken spine might impede circulation there. He empties every syringe he prepared, flooding her system with venom. Bella's heart stops. The flatline sound of the monitor fills the room with its terrible, steady tone. She is dead, clinically dead. No heartbeat, no breathing, no response. Jacob, who's been standing frozen in horror, suddenly lunges forward. He begins chest compressions, his wolf strength allowing him to press hard enough to actually move blood through a dead woman's circulatory system. He counts aloud, 30 compressions, then pauses for Edward to breathe into Bella's mouth. They work together, vampire and werewolf, natural enemies united in desperate attempt to save the woman they both love. Edward understands what Jacob is doing, why the compressions matter even though Bella's heart has stopped. The venom needs to circulate, needs to reach every cell in her body. A stopped heart won't distribute it effectively. If they can manually circulate her blood, can force it through her vessels with compressions, they can help spread the venom before her blood congeals. He coordinates with Jacob, timing his breath to Jacob's compressions, working in rhythm despite their mutual hatred. After several minutes of this desperate resuscitation, Edward detects the change he was hoping for. The venom is spreading, taking over the circulation, beginning its work. He tells Jacob to stop, that the transformation has begun, that continuing compressions might actually interfere with the process now. Jacob backs away, his hands covered in Bella's blood, his face devastated. He has done everything he can. Now Bella's fate rests with the venom, with the 3-day transformation that will either save her or confirm her death. The family moves Bella to a bed, cleaning the blood from her body, dressing her in comfortable clothes, making her as peaceful as possible for the ordeal ahead. She lies perfectly still, no breath, no heartbeat, appearing dead to any normal observation. But Edward can hear something, a faint sound beneath the silence, the sound of venom moving through her veins, beginning its work of transformation. The fire has begun. Bella's consciousness doesn't fade when her heart stops. Instead, it sharpens, focuses down to a single point of awareness centered entirely on pain. The venom enters her system like liquid fire, burning from the inside out. It starts at her heart, where Edward injected the first dose, and spreads outward in waves of agony that defy description. Every nerve in her body begins firing at once, sending signals of burning, of destruction, of transformation so profound it feels like dying and being reborn simultaneously. The pain has texture and color and weight. It is red and black and white hot. It is crushing and piercing and burning all at once. It fills every space in her awareness, leaving room for nothing else. She cannot scream because she has no breath, cannot move because the venom is already beginning to change her muscles. She exists in a prison of her own body, trapped in agony that has no end in sight. Time loses meaning in the fire. Seconds stretch into hours, minutes into days. Bella's awareness fractures under the assault, breaking into pieces that each experience the pain separately. She is her heart burning as venom rewrites cardiac muscle. She is her lungs collapsing as breathing becomes unnecessary. She is her brain transforming as neurons become something faster, sharper, harder than human grey matter. She's every cell dying and being replaced with something new. The venom works methodically, systematically, showing no mercy. It transforms her organs first, the vital systems that keep her body functioning even in death. Her heart, though stopped, is perfected. Every cell of cardiac muscle strengthened and changed. Her lungs, no longer needed for oxygen, become vessels for scenting. Her liver and kidneys and stomach all transform into vampire equivalents. Organs that no longer process food or filter blood, but exist as part of the perfect machine her body is becoming. Edward sits beside her throughout, holding her hand, speaking to her though she cannot hear him. He tells her he loves her, tells her he's sorry, tells her to hold on, to survive this, to come back to him on the other side. He cannot read her thoughts, has never been able to read her mind, so he doesn't know if she's aware of his presence or lost completely in the transformation's agony. He simply maintains his vigil, unwilling to leave her alone in her suffering. The first day passes in fire. Bella's awareness narrows to a single fact. She is burning. Nothing else exists. No memories of her human life. No thoughts of the future. No awareness of the daughter born from her dying body. Only the fire. Only the pain. Only the endless transformation that seems like it will never end. Her body lies motionless on the bed, appearing dead, appearing peaceful, while internally every system undergoes catastrophic change. The venom reaches her extremities during the second day, burning down her arms to her fingertips, down her legs to her toes. Each finger and toe becomes a separate point of agony. 10 small fires added to the conflagration already consuming her core. Her spine, broken during birth, is repaired by the venom as it passes through, vertebrae knitting back together stronger than before. the injury that paralyzed her becoming irrelevant as her nervous system transforms. Her skin begins to change, the texture shifting from soft human flesh to something harder, smoother, more durable. The venom perfects every cell, erasing scars, erasing imperfections, creating skin that will eventually be beautiful, but for now simply burns as it transforms. Her hair continues to grow, though more slowly, the follicles adjusting to their new vampire metabolism. Her nails harden, becoming more like claws, though she will learn to file them back to human appearance later. The second day is awareness trapped in burning. Bella begins to understand that the fire will not kill her, that she is surviving moment by moment, that this agony has an endpoint somewhere in the future. The knowledge doesn't ease the pain, but it gives her something to hold on to, some small piece of hope in the endless burning. She begins to count, though she has no way to measure time, simply counting seconds or heartbeats or moments, giving herself something to focus on beyond the fire. Edward continues his vigil, leaving only to hunt when the thirst becomes unbearable, returning as quickly as possible to resume his place at her side. The rest of the family rotates through, each spending time with Bella, talking to her, reassuring her though she cannot hear. Rosalie brings the baby, introducing grandmother to granddaughter, though Bella remains locked in transformation and unaware. The baby, growing impossibly fast even now, watches her mother with concerned eyes. Jacob visits, though being near Bella's transforming body causes him physical pain. The scent of vampire venom is toxic to werewolves, triggering their aggressive instincts, but Jacob forces himself to sit with Bella anyway, to hold her cold hand, to whisper apologies for not protecting her better, for failing to keep her human. He leaves each time feeling worse, feeling the imprint pulling at him, the supernatural bond that connected him to Bella's daughter during those few moments after birth. The third day brings the final transformations, the changes to Bella's brain and sensory organs that will make her fully vampire. Her eyes burn as vampire vision develops, the structures within changing to perceive more colors, more detail, more information than human eyes ever could. Her ears transform, the delicate bones and tissues becoming capable of hearing sounds miles away, of detecting individual heartbeats in a crowd. Her brain undergoes the most profound changes of all. Neurons are rewired, synapses strengthened, new connections formed at speeds that would be impossible in normal human development. Her memory crystallizes, every moment of her human life suddenly accessible in perfect detail. Her mind speeds up, thoughts racing faster than they ever did in human form, processing multiple streams of information simultaneously. The venom completes its work slowly, methodically, ensuring that no cell remains unchanged, that the transformation is absolute and irreversible. Bella's heart, which has remained stopped throughout the 3 days, undergoes its final change. The cardiac muscle strengthens one last time, perfects itself one final moment, and then simply remains, stopped. It will never beat again. The blood in her veins, what little remains after the catastrophic hemorrhage during birth, is replaced entirely by venom, the clear liquid that will maintain her body for eternity. The fire begins to recede during the final hours of the third day. It doesn't disappear, but concentrates, pulling inward from her extremities toward her core, gathering in her chest and finally settling in her throat. The burning throat, the thirst, the desperate need for blood that defines vampire existence. Bella becomes aware of this new pain, different from the transformation fire, sharper and more focused. Her throat burns like she has swallowed acid, like she's dying of thirst in a desert. Her awareness expands beyond the pain for the first time in 3 days. She becomes conscious of her body again, of the bed beneath her, of the stillness of her chest and the silence where her heartbeat should be. She can hear sounds, so many sounds, a chorus of information overwhelming in its complexity. Voices downstairs, river water miles away, wind through tree branches, animals moving through the forest. Every sound distinct, every sound clear, every sound perfectly identifiable. She can smell everything, sense layering upon sense, creating a map of her surroundings more detailed than sight ever provided. Edward's scent, cool and clean and beautiful, so close that he must be sitting beside her. Other vampires, each with their own distinct fragrance. The baby's scent, warm and sweet and calling to something in Bella that she doesn't understand yet. And underlying everything, the scent of human blood from somewhere distant, calling to her newly awakened thirst. Bella prepares herself to open her eyes, to face her new existence, to become whatever the transformation has made her. The pain of burning has ended, replaced by the manageable agony of thirst. She has survived. She is vampire now, immortal and changed, and ready to begin her forever. The 3 days are over. Her new life is about to begin. Bella makes the decision to open her eyes. It is a choice, a conscious act of will after 3 days of helpless burning. She expects darkness, expects the bedroom she remembers from before the transformation. What she sees instead defies every expectation, overwhelms every sense, rewrites her understanding of what vision can be. The ceiling above her is not simply white plaster. It is a universe of texture and detail. Every microscopic imperfection visible, every paint stroke distinct, every molecule of dust floating in the air between her eyes and the surface above rendered in perfect clarity. She can see individual dust motes spinning in currents of air too subtle for human perception, can trace their trajectories, can understand the physics of their movements simply by watching. The ceiling has depth and dimension she never imagined. Shadows within shadows, variations of white that span spectrum she didn't know existed. She turns her head, the movement effortless and smooth in ways her human body never achieved, and sees Edward, truly sees him for the first time. His face is a masterwork of perfection, every feature carved with impossible precision. She can see individual pores in his marble skin, can count his eyelashes, can trace the exact pattern of gold and amber and honey that makes up the topaz color of his eyes. His hair catches light in 1,000 different ways, each strand a slightly different shade of bronze and copper and gold. He's beautiful beyond human comprehension, and she understands now why she was drawn to him so completely. Edward's face transforms when he realizes she's awake, his eyes widening, his lips parting slightly. He whispers her name, his voice a symphony of tones and harmonics that her new hearing can distinguish and appreciate. She hears the relief in his voice, the love, the fear, the hope, all layered together in a single word. She tries to respond, but finds she doesn't remember how to make her voice work, doesn't know if she needs to breathe first, or if sound can come without air. She sits up, the movement happening before she consciously decides to move. Her body responds to intention instantly, perfectly, without the delay or clumsiness that characterized her human existence. She is simply sitting, her back straight, her balance perfect, her muscles responding with precision she never imagined possible. She looks down at her hands, turning them over, watching light play across skin that looks like hers but isn't, not really. Her skin is flawless, smooth and cool and hard, every imperfection erased by the transformation. The room around her reveals itself in layers of sensory information. She can hear the house settling, wood expanding and contracting with temperature changes. She can hear voices downstairs, multiple conversations happening simultaneously, each one perfectly clear and distinct. Carlyle discussing something medical with Jasper. Alice humming while doing something that sounds like arranging flowers. Emmett laughing at something Rosalie said. And another sound, a heartbeat, rapid and strong, human but not quite human. The baby, her daughter. Edward speaks again, asking if she's all right, if she knows who he is, if she remembers anything. His concern is evident in every word. Bella finds her voice finally, discovers that she can speak without breathing, that words can form in a throat that no longer needs air. She tells him she's fine. She remembers everything. She knows exactly who she is and who he is and what has happened to her. But even as she speaks, another sensation dominates her awareness. Her throat burns. It is not the fire of transformation, not the agony of cells dying and being reborn. This is different, focused, demanding. Her throat feels like she has swallowed acid and broken glass, like she is dying of thirst in a desert, like she needs something desperately and immediately. The need has claws and teeth, digging into her consciousness, demanding attention, demanding satisfaction. She understands instinctively what this means. Blood. She needs blood. Edward sees the change in her expression, sees her hand move to her throat unconsciously. He explains what she's feeling, names the thirst, warns her that it will be overwhelming at first, that newborn vampires are consumed by it. But even as he speaks, he notices something unusual. Bella is not moving, not lunging toward the heartbeat downstairs, not losing control despite the thirst that should be driving her mad with need. She sits perfectly still, her hand at her throat, her face showing discomfort, but not the wild desperation that characterizes newborn vampires. Bella realizes that she is making a choice. The thirst is terrible, demanding, almost irresistible, but it is not irresistible. She can feel the need, can acknowledge it, can experience its urgency without surrendering to it. Some part of her human self-control has survived the transformation, amplified perhaps by whatever quality made her mind resistant to Edward's telepathy. She's aware of the burning, aware of the need, but also aware of her daughter downstairs, aware that losing control could mean harming the baby she died to protect. Edward is amazed. He's never seen a newborn with this kind of control, his ability to think clearly despite the overwhelming thirst. But Bella simply accepts it as her new reality, this ability to choose despite desire, to maintain herself despite instinct. She asks Edward if she can meet her daughter now, if she can see Renesmee with her new eyes. Edward hesitates. The baby's heartbeat is human, or close enough to human that it will trigger Bella's hunting instincts. Her blood will smell sweet, appealing, will call to the thirst in ways that even Bella's extraordinary control might not be able to resist. He suggests they hunt first, that they ease the burning in her throat before she meets Renesmee. Bella agrees reluctantly, understanding the wisdom of his caution, even as she aches to see her daughter. But as they prepare to leave, Jacob appears in the doorway, and Bella's careful control wavers for the first time. Jacob's scent hits her like a physical blow, wrong in ways that make her body recoil instinctively. He smells like wet dog and forest and something chemical, something that triggers aggression in her vampire instincts. She finds herself crouching without meaning to, her lips pulling back from her teeth in a snarl she didn't know she could make. Edward moves between them quickly, his hands raised, explaining that Jacob, his pack, is safe, is protected by treaty. The confrontation diffuses slowly as Bella regains control, forces her body to relax, makes herself stand normally, despite every instinct screaming at her to attack or flee. The tension reminds both of them how much has changed, how the easy friendship of their human relationship can never exist again. Bella is predator now, and Jacob is something her vampire nature sees as enemy and threat. But Jacob also carries information that cuts through Bella's aggressive instincts. He is imprinted on Renesmee. The words make no sense to Bella initially, a vampire mind processing faster than human, but still struggling with impossible concepts. Edward explains what imprinting means, how it is a supernatural bond that connects shapeshifter to another person, how it is absolute and unbreakable, how it means Jacob will protect Renesmee with his life. Bella's reaction is immediate and furious, the idea of Jacob being bound to her infant daughter triggering protective rage. Edward restrains her physically, his arms like steel bands around her, preventing her from attacking Jacob despite her newborn strength. He explains that imprinting is not romantic, not in the way Bella fears, that Jacob's bond with Renesmee will be whatever Renesmee needs it to be. The explanation doesn't fully satisfy Bella, but the fury subsides into resentment, into acceptance born from necessity rather than understanding. Jacob imprinted. Nothing can change that. She must find a way to live with it. Edward suggests again that they hunt, that they ease Bella's thirst before introducing her to Renesmee. This time Bella agrees without argument, recognizing how close she came to losing control during the confrontation with Jacob. They leave through the back of the house, Edward leading her into the forest at a speed that would have been impossible for human Bella to match. But vampire Bella moves effortlessly, her body responding to the terrain instinctively, feet finding purchase on uneven ground, branches that would have caught and scratched simply bending out of her way. Running feels like flying. Bella has been clumsy her entire human life, has stumbled and fallen and injured herself through simple movement. But this body moves with liquid grace, with precision that requires no thought or effort. She runs faster, pushing herself, discovering that speed has limits even for vampires, but that those limits are so far beyond human capability, they might as well be infinite. Trees blur past, the forest becoming streaks of brown and green, wind rushing past her face without stealing her breath, because she isn't breathing, doesn't need to breathe. She catches the scent of prey without meaning to, her body stopping instantly, every sense focusing on the source. Deer, a small herd, perhaps half a mile distant. The scent carries information she didn't know smell could convey. The number of animals, their health, their fear level, even their approximate location. Her body wants to hunt, wants to chase and catch and drink. The thirst surges, stronger now that prey is near. demanding satisfaction. Edward watches her carefully, ready to intervene if necessary, ready to guide her through her first hunt. But Bella doesn't need guidance. Her body knows what to do, instinct taking over where experience is lacking. She moves toward the deer silently, her footsteps making no sound despite her speed. The herd doesn't detect her until she's nearly upon them, and by then it's too late. She takes down the largest doe effortlessly, her hands finding the animal's neck, her teeth piercing skin and muscle without conscious thought. The blood that flows into her mouth is warm and rich and satisfying in ways that flood her with relief. The burning in her throat eases, not disappearing, but becoming manageable, receding from agony to discomfort. She drinks until the deer is drained, until no more blood flows, until the thirst quiets enough that she can think clearly again. She releases the deer's body, stepping back, becoming aware of herself again. Her first kill, her first taste of blood as a vampire. It should horrify her, should trigger guilt or disgust or remorse. But it doesn't. The deer was prey, and she was predator. And this is simply the nature of what she has become. She feels satisfaction, relief, even a strange gratitude toward the animal that eased her suffering. But not guilt. Edward approaches, pride evident in his expression. Her control, her precision, her clean kill, all demonstrate abilities that most newborns don't possess. She's exceptional, unusual, gifted perhaps with control that matches her mental shield. He tells her she did well, that she can hunt more if she needs to. Bella takes down 2 more deer, learning with each kill, understanding better how to drink efficiently, how to satisfy the thirst without waste. Finally, the burning in her throat quiets to a level she can manage. It doesn't disappear entirely, will never disappear entirely, but it becomes background sensation rather than all-consuming need. Edward asks if she's ready to meet Renesmee, if she feels controlled enough to be near their daughter. Bella considers honestly, testing herself, feeling for the edges of her control. The thirst is present but manageable. Her love for Renesmee is absolute. She is ready. They return to the house, moving more slowly now. Bella taking time to appreciate the forest with her new senses. Edward holds her hand, his touch cool and perfect. No longer the temperature difference between them, because they are the same now. Both frozen, both vampire, both immortal. They are truly equals for the first time, matched in strength and speed and durability. The house appears through the trees, beautiful and familiar. Bella can hear everyone inside, can distinguish individual voices and movements, can sense the family waiting for her return. But one sound dominates all others, the rapid heartbeat that belongs to her daughter. Rosalie meets them at the door, holding Renesmee carefully, protectively. The baby has grown noticeably in the 3 days of Bella's transformation, developing at the same impossible rate she showed in the womb. She's beautiful, with Edward's bronze hair and Bella's brown eyes, with skin that shows subtle translucence, with an awareness in her expression. That seems far too mature for an infant. She looks at Bella with recognition, with love, with understanding that this vampire is her mother. Bella approaches slowly, carefully, every muscle under tight control. The baby's scent is sweet, appealing, triggering the thirst in ways that animal blood couldn't. But Bella's love is stronger than the thirst, her determination to protect overriding her instinct to feed. She reaches out tentatively, her hand trembling slightly. and touches Renesmee's face with one finger. The baby's skin is warm, softer than anything Bella has ever felt. Renesmee reaches up, her tiny hand pressing against Bella's cheek, and suddenly Bella sees images, memories, visions that aren't her own. She sees her own face, pale and dying, from an infant's perspective during those moments after birth. She sees Edward's face, worried and loving. She sees the 3 days of transformation from outside, her body lying still while the family waited. Renesmee is showing her memories, sharing her experiences through touch, communicating in a way that transcends language. Bella understands then that her daughter is not simply hybrid, not merely half vampire and half human. Renesmee is something entirely new, gifted with abilities that neither species possesses alone. The realization fills Bella with wonder and protectiveness and fierce love that overwhelms even vampire intensity. This is her daughter, impossible and perfect, the child she died to bring into the world. The family gathers around them, the Cullens complete now, with Bella as full member rather than fragile human guest. Edward puts his arm around Bella's shoulders, holding both his wife and daughter. Carlyle watches with satisfaction, seeing his youngest transform successfully. Esme radiates maternal joy. Even Rosalie smiles, her resentment finally dissolving in their shared love for Renesmee. Bella holds her daughter for the first time with her full vampire strength carefully controlled, supporting the warm weight of her, feeling Renesmee's heartbeat against her chest. The thirst is present, will always be present, but is manageable, overshadowed by emotions more powerful than hunger. She has survived transformation, has gained everything she wanted, has become something more than she imagined. She is vampire, mother, wife, member of a family that chose her. Her human life has ended. Her immortal life has begun. The days following Bella's awakening unfold, with a rhythm both strange and natural. She learns the particulars of her new existence, the small details that define vampire life in ways the transformation itself couldn't teach. She discovers that she casts a reflection, that mirrors work perfectly well despite the old myths. She learns that crosses and religious symbols have no effect on her whatsoever, that garlic is simply unpleasant smelling rather than harmful, that all the traditional vampire weaknesses are fiction born from human imagination. Her control remains extraordinary, unprecedented for a newborn. Carlyle observes her carefully, documenting her unusual discipline, trying to understand what makes her different. Most newborns are slaves to their thirst for months, sometimes years, unable to be near humans without losing control entirely. But Bella can stand at the window and watch humans pass on the road below without feeling the overwhelming urge to hunt. The thirst is present, always present, a constant burning in her throat that demands attention. But it doesn't control her. She controls it. Edward finally speaks aloud what he suspected since her awakening. Bella's mental shield, the barrier that protected her thoughts from his telepathy even when she was human, has not only survived transformation but strengthened. The shield is why she has such unusual control. It protects her mind from the overwhelming instincts that dominate most newborns, gives her space to think clearly despite the thirst, allows her to choose rather than simply react. Eliza, visiting from the Denali Coven with his mate Carmen, confirms Edward's theory. Eliza possesses the ability to sense gifts in other vampires, to identify special abilities and understand their nature. When he observes Bella, he sees the shield clearly. It surrounds her like an invisible bubble, protecting not just her mind, but her entire sense of self from external influence. He explains that shields are rare, that mental gifts are generally either offensive or defensive, but rarely both. Bella's shield is purely defensive, absolute in its protection, but limited to herself alone. Or so everyone believes, until Kate from the Denali Coven offers to help Bella explore her gift's potential. Kate possesses the ability to generate electrical current through her skin, making contact with her painfully shocking. She suggests using this method to help Bella learn to extend her shield beyond herself. The training begins simply. Kate generates a mild shock, enough to be uncomfortable, but not debilitating. Bella reaches out to touch her hand and recoils immediately from the electric jolt. Kate explains that if Bella can learn to project her shield outward, to encompass Kate within its protection, the electricity won't reach Bella, even when they're touching. Bella tries repeatedly, reaching for Kate's hand while attempting to push her shield outward. Each attempt results in the same sharp shock, the same failure, the same frustration. The shield protects Bella automatically, unconsciously, without effort or intention on her part. Learning to control it consciously, to direct it deliberately, proves far more difficult than she anticipated. Edward suggests motivation. Bella's shield responds to her protective instincts, manifests most strongly when she feels threatened, or when those she loves are in danger. If she can imagine Edward being hurt, can visualize Kate's electricity harming him instead of herself, perhaps her shield will extend to protect him. Bella tries this approach, holding Edward's hand while reaching for Kate, imagining the shock traveling through Edward. The motivation works. The shield expands suddenly, encompassing Edward within its protection. And when Bella touches Kate's electrified hand, neither feels anything. The discovery opens possibilities no one anticipated. Bella's shield isn't limited to protecting only herself. With concentration and practice, she can extend it to cover others, can create a bubble of protection that blocks mental attacks from reaching anyone within its bounds. She practices daily, learning to expand the shield's range, to maintain it for longer periods, to include more people within its protective barrier. Renesmee grows rapidly, developing at a pace that both amazes and concerns the family. Within weeks, she appears months old, sitting up, crawling, babbling in sounds that seem almost like words. Her gift manifests more clearly as well. She can show people her thoughts, her memories, her desires by touching their skin and projecting images directly into their minds. The communication is more efficient than language, more complete than words could ever be. Bella spends hours with her daughter, learning Renesmee's unique nature, understanding how hybrid biology creates something entirely new. Renesmee has a heartbeat, warm blood, the ability to sleep and eat human food. But she also has vampire hardness to her skin, vampire strength for her size, vampire beauty that will only increase as she grows. She is the best of both species, the miracle that Bella's sacrifice made possible. But the family's peace is shattered when Irina from the Denali Coven sees Renesmee from a distance and makes a terrible mistake. She sees a child with vampire characteristics, sees what appears to be an immortal child, and immediately reports the sighting to the Volturi. Immortal children are forbidden under vampire law, their creation punishable by death for everyone involved. The Volturi decide to come to Forks, to investigate the reported immortal child, to dispense justice if the law has been broken. Alice sees their decision in a vision, sees the massive force assembling in Volterra, sees Aro and Caius and Marcus leading the entire guard across the world to destroy the Cullens. The vision shows only two possible outcomes. The Cullens prove Renesmee is not an immortal child and survive, or they fail to prove it and everyone dies. Carlyle immediately begins gathering witnesses, vampires from around the world who can testify that Renesmee is not an immortal child, but something else entirely, a hybrid born rather than transformed. The Cullens need vampires who will stand with them against the Volturi, who will risk destruction themselves to support the truth. Bella's role in the coming confrontation becomes clear. Her shield can protect the family and their witnesses from Jane's pain illusion and Alec's sensory deprivation. The Volturi's two most devastating weapons. If she can maintain the shield over everyone, can keep it strong throughout whatever confrontation occurs, the Volturi will be forced to assess the situation fairly, rather than simply destroying everyone with their gifts. Everything depends on Bella's control, on her ability to protect those she loves, on the shield that has defined her since before her transformation. She trains relentlessly, pushing her gift to its limits, preparing for the confrontation that will determine whether her family survives or perishes. The confrontation with the Volturi ends not in violence but in understanding. Bella's shield holds throughout, protecting her family and witnesses from Jane and Alec's gifts, forcing Aro to see Renesmee directly, to touch her and understand her true nature. The Volturi withdraw, their threat dissolving like morning mist, leaving the Cullens victorious and whole. Bella's transformation is complete in every way that matters. She has survived the burning, has gained the strength and speed and immortality she always wanted. She has protected her daughter, has become the shield her family needed, has proven herself worthy of the life she chose. The pain of transformation, those 3 terrible days of fire, fade into memory, becoming simply the price paid for forever. She stands now with Edward and Renesmee in the cottage they call home, her family safe, her future stretching endlessly ahead. No more fear of losing Edward to time's passage, no more weakness or fragility, no more goodbyes, only forever, only love, only the eternal present of vampire existence. So rest now, gentle dreamers. Let Bella's journey carry you into sleep, where transformation brings not pain, but peace, where burning becomes belonging, where every ending is truly a beginning. Close your eyes and drift into dreams of forever and sleep.